Hey guys, how you doing? I'm here to do the reading for the full moon in Sag. I'm going to skip the charts to look at, but I actually want to explain a little bit more about the energy because I know that the last reading for the last half of June may be a bit cryptic, and I've had a couple of days to sort of live myself with the energy and also see it playing out in others people's lives. So I have a better idea of how to make it more concrete. So actually let's start with that. So the first thing is that the Sabian for the moon at 26 Sagittarius is the flag bearer, right? And so that was kind of like, whose side are you on? What flag do you want to carry? What do you want things to say about you? What's your battle cry? Whose war are you waging? Picking a side, choosing an association or affiliation. What do you want your house to be tied to or your name to be tied to? You know, and it kind of brings up, and then the sun image at 26 Gemini is winter frost in the woods. And so it kind of brings up like Game of Thrones, winter is coming kind of energy. And I'm actually reminded of one of the final scenes in The White Queen. It was a BBC production of The War of the Roses. Very good if you haven't seen it. But there's this scene at the end where one of the very important houses, right, like the deal, they could make or break either side of the war. And each side was asking them to declare for them. So which banner are you going to carry? That was like who you were fighting for. And the game decider, he said, we will come with both of the flags in our pocket, and whoever's winning, that's the flag we'll fight for, you know, so that's a strategy in and of itself. Now, usually the eclipses bring nutty energy. But I looked at the chart for the eclipse. I don't like to look at things too far in advance, but I looked at the chart for the eclipse, and I actually think that the period leading up to the eclipse, so right now, up until July 2nd, is going to be the nuttiest. And I'll get into details about what that might look like. But the sun and the moon at 10 Cancer on July 2nd actually make no aspects with anyone else. So it's kind of like there's a whole discussion going on over here, and the sun and the moon just decide to start over here. It's like, let's just leave that whole thing going on and focus a whole new intention over here, which is very nice. And you know, it's a new moon, a full solar eclipse, so very powerful energy. So that is a very big chapter changing moment, right? And so what's going to happen like between now and then? I think, as I said, there's all those energies that are going all over the place. The conversation between Neptune and Jupiter, the fight between Mars and Pluto, the South Node and the North Node. So there's lots of discussions going on, like a Turkish bazaar kind of negotiation thing. And you may be asked, that Mars-Pluto energy is tough. Now, I don't like to be like a naysayer or a doomsday prediction kind of thing. Energies there will be some sort of confrontation at some point. It doesn't mean of a full-out war. I'll give you an example. So I had two things happen to me this morning. So first, they turned off my electricity. I woke up, tried to make my coffee, couldn't do it because they turned off my electricity. So the electric company, which is the 10th house, turned off my electricity, which is the 4th house. So that's that Cap Cancer conversation right there. Because they couldn't find my payments. Right? They were lost. So that's that Neptune energy. And I was forced to prove, that's that banner. So who, you know, what do you want to say about yourself? I was forced to prove that actually I had that verification and that I had paid, that I had been honest, that I was not lying about that. They found my stuff. They've put my electricity back on. They charged me $60 to put it back on. And even though I argued with them, I still lost because it was like, this is the way it is. So there will be some kind of confrontation where you may have to lose something. That's Pluto. And you will be asked to defend yourself or to prove yourself or to provide some form of evidence, you know, and that came up in the end of June reading where it said, you know, figure out the illusion, stick to the facts. So one of the things I've noticed is you may be seeing a lot of mixed messages. Things may seem one way, but in reality, they're another. It's like, oh, that person looks like such a success. But actually, when you look at the facts, that's not true. There could be some sort of cognitive dissonance where, like, again, it's like, I thought it was this way, but it looks like it's actually this way. Anything that you're doing right now, you're going to want to collect evidence and make sure you can prove it. I don't know if any of you follow Amber Khan, the Quietest Revolution, but she had some like really crazy stuff go down in her life yesterday, in her house. So again, there's that Mars in Cancer in the 4th house, where she was actually attacked by someone who lived in her own building. And the police came and because there was a conversation between the two. The one woman was crazy, and she ended up saying that actually it was Amber that had done it. So Amber had to, like, thank God she had proof and proved that actually it wasn't that case. So it can be these very extreme situations. It can also be very simply, you know, that there's some sort of fixable, your lights get turned off by the electric company for no reason. Another thing that happened to me today is my bank lost some money that I just noticed. And I called my banker and was like, what the hell is this? And he said, well, because we sold this and it hasn't shown up here. So there's this moment where it's in limbo, where it's like, I don't have any proof that it was here and I don't have any proof that it was there. So you have to sort of keep your fingers crossed that it shows up eventually. But in the meantime, he's like, make sure you keep all of your records that show this is what we did. And this is, you know, just in case there's like a data blankout or blackout, which could be the eclipse, make sure you can prove that you had that money here and that it hasn't arrived there. So I think you're going to have, you know, any situation that you're in that's sort of like dubious, make sure you have some hard facts, some concrete evidence. Yes, so let me give you, so I put some notes down. So here I will just sort of read these. So again, you're going to be asked to prove something, show something about you that shows the truth, an accusation perhaps from an institution, bank, police, father, teacher. You may have to change your belief system. This is changing the flag, the banners, right? So I am not, because of this confrontation, I'm no longer a Catholic, but an atheist. Because of these health problems, I am no longer an omnivore, I'm a vegetarian. Because of these financial situations, I'm going to renounce my citizenship and do something out. There could be like coming out of the closet to your parents. There's gonna kind of be a showdown between two entities that will obligate you to bring forth some truth about yourself that you may have taken for granted, but now needs to come out into hiding. Okay, so that's that. As I said, the energy for the eclipse looks good. So life may feel like kind of a crazy pinball machine thing for the next 2 weeks, where stuff is not clear. Stay centered, observe. You don't have to react, but respond. And just make sure that you can prove your position at any time. So let's start with the cards. I was told to change all my decks for this reading, so I'm going to. I'm going to start with the Lenormand for the overall energy for the Aries sign full moon today, June 17th, 2019. Okay, so the whip. And also, one other thing I'm going to do, because of the heavy Neptune energy that's going on right now, I'm going to deal the cards, and then, you know, I have to look up my foreign ones. So I'm going to deal the cards, but I'm also going to sit with them for a little bit so that I can make sure that the messages make sense. So I won't waste your time, because I usually get clarity a little bit after I do the reading. So I'll get clarity before I do the reading and then come back and do it. I'm not going to take that. Can I have cards for the full moon, June 17th, 2019 for Aries? For Aries. So for Aries, energy for this full moon in Sagittarius, June 17th, 2019. And you know, the full moons are already nutty, and then Sag is like, that's quite a lot. Let's take them all. Okay. It's so funny. I was literally about to say it's kind of like shooting sparks all over the place. This one is details, details. Okay, and it came out upside down. So that's that hold on to. Oh, and look at that. That's a 34 and that's a 43. So it's like reversal energy. Spirit of place and gentle gardener. Yes, so that's kind of that like keep cool as sparks fly. My hands are shaking. I think I had too much coffee. Or it's just that Sag energy. As I was saying, Sagittarius moon with a full moon on it can feel like a spooked horse running free in the fields, you know, like this way and that sort of. And since it's mutable fire, sparks can go in any direction. Can I have a card for... Oh, hold on. It was already there. Oh, shut up. 34. Huh? Okay, so that one I have to look up, but obviously connected. And then let's do tarot. This is the Alchemical Tarot by Robert Place. I love this tarot. I don't use it a lot because it's kind of high level, but I was told to use it today. Oh, and there are 3 cards. Okay, so we started off with the Fool, which we got also for June. And then this is the 8 of Cups, 8 of Vessels. 5, 6, 7, 8, yeah. And then here we have the Lady of Staffs. Okay, so like I said, let me take a minute to go through these and then kind of sit with this energy, and I will be right back. Or I'll be back in a bit. Okay, so let's break it down. Now, the whip and the broom are point blank conflict, misunderstandings, aggression, something that gets lost in translation, and something that needs to get swept away. Now, this card here, the Spirit of Place, talks about confusion, that in the confusion is the lesson. And actually, you know, it's funny because this reading kind of brings together, as a full moon will, the readings of the recent past. Now, I was thinking about the other day the Marshall McLuhan phrase of the medium is the message, you know, and this kind of says the same thing, that it's like whatever it is that you're struggling against, so wherever the confrontation or the conflict or the I can't stand this thing, the tension, the lesson is in that. So it's not so much about the two polar opposites. It's really about accepting those, like transcending above. Now, one other thing I want to mention, 43, 7, 34, 7, 34, 7. So we have 3 7s here again. And I also want to mention that when, you know, through conflict, when you rub 2 sticks together, much like you would these pieces of wood, you get sparks. And you can't start a fire without a spark. So what lies in the middle of this guy carrying an empty stick and this woman dancing with her flame in the desert is the potter. Now, this is, I looked it up again because it looks a lot like the 8 of Pentacles, but actually his 8 of Pentacles is this one. However, there is similar energy. So he calls this one the potter. And then this symbol here is the alchemical symbol for anima mundi. And this here, called the red native, talks about the universal collective unconscious, that every single thought feeds into the collective unconscious. So every time you have a negative thought, that feeds that. Every time you have a positive thought, that feeds that. Now, so we have also this card, right, that talks about details, and I don't know if you could see it. When it sits upside down, you can see it, right? I think I can see it. You see how it says clarity? So that actually somehow in the being turned upside down, the clarity is released. So therefore, the medium is the message. That in the confusion, in the conflict, the spark that's generated, which is a creative spark that connects you to the beating heart of the universal consciousness, is what's ultimately going to light your fire. Now, when I was looking at this, it reminded me a lot of Burning Man. I don't know how many of you know about Burning Man. It's a festival in the desert in the United States. It's become more and more famous over the recent history. Now, if any of you were thinking about going to Burning Man, I would. Or if you're thinking about doing your own sort of like thing in the desert, I would. Because let me tell you why. I Googled the Burning Man page, and the first thing it says on it is spark collaboration. Okay. And then it has, see this rabbit here? And you see how his hat like sort of mimics the rabbit. On their front page, they have a journal that's called, hold on, I have it right here. So let me just look it up. What's it called? It was right here. Sorry, one sec. It's like Jack Rabbit. So their journal has something to do with a rabbit. So here it is. Yes, the Jack Rabbit Speaks. So if you're interested in Burning Man, I'd go check out their website, because maybe there's an article that's they have a lot of stuff that they publish on there. And the theme for 2019 is about metamorphosis and about turning the butterfly, or about turning the caterpillar into the butterfly. And one of the quotes that's on the page is that when the butterfly emerges, nothing of the caterpillar remains, right? So there is a tremendous sense of all of this kind of coming together. Now, before this gets too confusing, I'm going to try and ground it a little bit. So, one big message here is that everything that's happening is being divinely guided, right? So this woman here, as she sparks, she's playing the violin, but you can see that she's actually not, because the divine is holding on to her bow as it produces what falls into the earth. So any sort of creative channeling, again, these mention channeling all over the place, to channel from the collective unconscious whatever spark of creativity that you can bring through into the universal garden, right? That every single one of your thoughts plants a seed, and that in this moment, small change is going, or even the tiniest drop of change is going to lead to big cultural differences. Because if we all think one small, more positive thought, that shifts the collective unconscious dynamic. And it's called the Lorentz effect, but what we call it is the butterfly effect, right? So that metamorphosis, because it says that you can have a butterfly's wings flap in Tokyo and cause a tornado in Texas. So this message is very much about pay attention to who you're following, right? Because this guy's about to go down the rabbit hole. It's about really tapping into your creative energy, that which sparks the sense of the divine in you. And it may come through, that spark may come out as a result of conflict and aggression, right? In knowing that which you definitely do not want, Sometimes we get very clear on that which we do want. To be attentive of what we feed into the universe and what we take out of it, right? Because thoughts are energy, and what we plant in the universal consciousness is just as important as what we take out of it. So to watch our thoughts, watch the aggression, understand that the aggression is actually, or any kind of conflict, misunderstanding that comes up in the next period, is actually there to help you light this fire, right? To understand what it is that makes you dance in the desert with the flame of passion. And think about the potter. I don't know if any of you have ever worked in pottery, but the slightest move on that pot makes a completely different pot and can throw it off the wheel or can keep it centered. So to stay very centered in this garden, so you want to be concentrated, focused in your space, because there's going to be a lot of conflict around you, and it doesn't help to be whipping around like a, hold on, where is it? Leaf in the wind. Okay, so the more you can stay centered, focused, and eyes on what it is that you're doing, and the more you can tap into this sort of universal consciousness of creativity to actually bring forward something positive, to feed in that positive spark, to light this eternal fire of wisdom, is beneficial, and it makes me think also of that solar eclipse that's coming up. So I think it's really a time that's going to be very sort of divinely, spiritually guided, about provoking some sort of tension in your life, to get focused on here's another butterfly, on what it is, the metamorphosis that's happening in your life. Where is that transformation happening, and how can you feed it? Where can you concentrate on actually turning that lump of clay into something that has shape? And it comes through, as you, it's tension that you put on the clay, and you press in certain spaces to make it take that shape. So this may come through this conflict and sense of aggression. That's that Mars Pluto, where it really wants you to get clear on what it is that sparks you into action. So I hope this is clear. I think so. I get it. But I will see you on Wednesday we'll do some advice. Oh no, you know what I wanted to do? Sorry. Because all of these keep talking about animals, there's butterflies here, there's gardens, there's this rabbit. So I wanted to pull a spirit animal card for this moon. So just hang tight with me for 1 sec. Oh my God, so funny. Look at the one that's literally at the bottom of the deck as I pulled it out, right? So transformation is beautiful. Okay, so, it's pretty clear what's going on to me. We don't like to transform though, but like it said, embrace it. This spirit place says, just sort of embrace the aggression, because it is in the medium that our message comes through. So can I have a spirit animal for Aries at this full moon, June 17th, 2019? And go check out that Burning Man. I feel like there's articles in there that will pertain to people. Okay, nice. Porcupine Spirit, time for beginner mind. Let's read it. 48. When Porcupine Spirit calls your name, you are being asked to adopt a beginner's mind and to approach situations with innocence and curiosity, much like this rabbit. The old confining stories no longer have a hold on you. Life is full of surprises hiding in plain sight. Shout out to Astro Boy who wrote that in my comments. Looking at the world afresh with new eyes can help you find what you have been seeking, whether it is a relationship, an opportunity, or evidence that you have all you need right now to co-create, which is exactly this, what you desire. Who knew? Porcupine asks you to be playful, dance in the desert, and have a childlike curiosity. There is so much waiting for you that you have yet to discover. Okay, so very nice. So, you know, when this conflict presents itself, try and flip it around and understand that it's actually bringing you some sort of gift. And look, it's kind of like a hippie porcupine, which is, if you look at the website of Burning Man, you'll see that this is perfectly on point. So find some sort of like fun, creative, childish, let everything go when this conflict or whatever starts to get too much for you. In the meantime, remember, pay attention to the details, the clarity, pay attention to the details for clarity. Stick to the facts on things, because that keeps coming up also. And regardless of how things may seem, pay attention to what they actually are. Okay? I will talk to you Wednesday. Thanks. Bye.